the greatest moment in my life.
Hey yo!
Hey yo.
Hey yo. Hey yo. Hey yo. How are we doing, Magsy? You good?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Happy Independence Day to all our American viewers.
America.
Yeah,
America.
we're happy to share your pride in getting rid of us as your controlling power.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't want you anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, we'd had enough.
Yeah. To be honest, some of the stuff that's gone on in the news in the last 20 years, quite glad to get shot here, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there we go, mate. There we go. It's warm up here again, Magsy. I'm sweating again, mate.
It is here. It's the start of a mini heat wave, apparently, for the UK. So
that'll be the end of our summer, won't it?
Next week's Cheer Wrestling, we may be here in our birthday suits.
Suits me, pal. Suits me. Camera cuts off there, so I'm all right. You don't see that, you know. You don't see any of my my oddly shaped body.
Same with me. Just a head. Just a head.
Just a head. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, a Radio Tekkers production. I am Si, and with me, as always, is the Day of Independence. To my lack of attendance, my school report was shocking, Magsy. I didn't go to art for 3 whole months, and they didn't even notice. That's how much I hated it.
Andy got an A.
Yeah, well, I didn't get an A, but there we go. He is the Goldberg streak to my poor physique. I mean, my arms aren't too bad. My shoulders are okay. You know, my legs are quite toned, but it's just my belly. If I wear brown trousers and a red t-shirt, I look like a toffee apple.
You've got lovely front calves, I've heard.
Front calves, I have indeed. I have indeed. He is a podcaster who is always the hometown hero in any place he lays his little baseball cap down. The podfather himself, Lord Mags. How are we doing, sir?
I am doing okay, I suppose. It's been a nice, quiet week. UFC and Money in the Bank was on this weekend. I didn't even realise Money in the Bank was on. I was reminded by our good friend Mr. Ray Cash, so I dual screen watched that this weekend. And I don't know if you can see in the background there, but I have a replay to my PlayStation, so it's now all black.
Oh, nice. We haven't got a hole in our kitchen roof anymore.
What? It's just you've gone like full outdoor kitchen.
They finally, after what was it, November? It started. They finally come out and fixed it, mate. Finally, we've still got somebody to come out and do the bathroom tomorrow, but yeah.
Look at that! It's all looking up in the Powell house.
I know, mate. It means basically now somebody can take a shower, and if you're making a sandwich, you won't get wet.
But that is that was a cool invention, a dual shower. If someone upstairs is having a shower, you can also, it's like sharing the bathwater, kind of.
Yeah.
Except being drizzled on with dirty shower.
And it probably is equally as gross, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Well, yeah, especially if you're eating, say, a bowl of cornflakes at the kitchen side and
what? What? And you just get some. Yeah, it goes through all the plaster and the mank and the drape as well, comes down on
Jesus!
You know, and like me, the missus, both all the girls who live here and everything. We all.
And there's SARS audio internet playing up. He's just got brand new gigabit internet as well. And you are back.
Am I back?
You are back. Yes. No, you were.
I am back. Right.
Oh, Jesus wept. Your internet.
Am I back now?
You are back, for the love of God.
I am back.
Yeah.
Now. Okay. I'm just double checking, mate. It's crap. Virgin Media need to kiss my ass. They sent me this new modem. It doesn't sync with the boosters that are up here to sort of help where I'm recording and so on. It's fucking shite, mate. And I'm sick of Virgin Media. They're a pain in the ass.
I mean, I have nothing but good things to say about them. Since I got gigabit internet, it's been the best.
Yes, well, there we go. Shall we jump into the chat, mate, and have a look? Have a look what we got there.
Yes, we shall. And for our 50th episode, it's a pretty bumper. We've got Total Steve, who doesn't normally drop into the chat, but he's coming to congratulate us and say he'll be listening on the audio version. Well, we thank you, Steve. You're a star, as always. Sharon, it's Monday night, you know what that means. And Matt Willis, happy 50th. FIFA Connor in the chat, hello, sir. Dan Griffin, evening, folks. How are we all? Tom Collier, another star in our little wrestling sphere. Congratulations on hitting 50. Really happy to see how Tekkers is going for you all. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate that. Matt tried to push for a like spark. He's one of the best cheerleaders we could ever hope for. FIFA Connor is getting a little bit turned on by us in imagining us in our birthday suits. Connor No Soccer, hello sir, how are you? Hope you've got your football shirt on this time. Dan Griffin, happy 4th everyone, Bald Eagle and Freedom Pars all around. Hello sir to Scottish Danny, and thanks again to Dan Griffin for the praise on 50 episodes. Ryan Nishka saying that I'm assuming it means you because he certainly doesn't think I am a legend. And then young Charlie, hello. How are you, Charlie? Monday night chain from Scottish Daddy. This porridge just, can you imagine? Like, just Link shower gel dripping into your porridge. Jesus Christ.
Not good, mate. Not good.
Matt and Scottish Danny are both agreeing with you that Virgin Media can kiss ass and are the bane of chain wrestling. Charlie, the 50th episode, how could I miss it? Well, you haven't. You're absolutely here. And then I feel like I should be on YouTube, but happy 50th, and Mags is a legend. Well, in his own household, maybe.
Oh, mate. So then. How was Money in the Bank? I know nothing of it.
I'd focused mainly on UFC. I had Money in the Bank basically on mute on the second screen, and it wasn't too bad. I mean, they lost obviously the big draw of Cody Rhodes, who was meant to kind of, the plans I think was he was to win and then go on to face Roman, but. For something that was fairly booked on the fly, it didn't do too bad. There was nothing that was remotely bad booking. Some of the matches were pretty good. I thought that Nate versus Ronda Rousey was a particularly good match. The women's ladder match was a little bit botchy, but she did. Liv Morgan did get the flowers that we've. A lot of wrestling fans have waited for her to get so long that she's always been on the edge of that push, and now it looks like she's got it. She ended up, obviously, spoiler alert for people who didn't watch, she cashed in, beat Ronda Rousey, and then got the praise from Ronda Rousey as well afterwards. So Liv Morgan is now the SmackDown champion. So it was not a bad show all around. Not the best, but certainly not the worst.
Oh, okay. I mean, I do need to check it out because I'm supposed to be speaking to somebody about it later in the week for a show. So we'll have to sit and watch it at some stage. But I didn't realise it was on the Saturday. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until I saw a tweet from Benny Mack, our buddy there, putting a tweet out about the show, saying that, you know, it had already happened and it was an up and down pay-per-view. I was like, hang on, this is Sunday morning. When did this happen? I didn't realise it was on the Saturday.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't know. I didn't even realise it was Money in the Bank week. That's how out of the wrestling sphere I am. And I was talking to Ray about UFC, and he said, "Which are you watching live, UFC or Money in the Bank?" So I just popped UFC on the main screen, and then Money in the Bank on the secondary one.
You're breaking up loads for me there, mate. I'm going to have to just do something different for my connection. Hang on a sec.
So your internet, again, is terrible. But yeah, Austin Theory, he was kind of one of the stars of the show as well. Lost in the match with Bobby Lashley, but ended up being inserted into the men's ladder match and winning the whole lot, which a lot of people are not happy about, but I actually don't mind that. I mean, rumours of his transgressions aside, I think the fact that they're WWE are trying to make some new stars, and Austin Theory is obviously getting a massive push. I think that's a good thing. Liv Morgan getting the push is also a good thing. So I wasn't I wasn't upset over the pay-per-view. Ryan saying all WWE events are now on Saturday for this year, so that's awesome. On Matt from Five Nerds Go pokes this guy's bum. Come on, we'll have less of that guy. And I think someone is in my ass. Jesus wept.
See, I went away for a little bit then because my internet's playing up again, but now I'm running this via my phone, so hopefully I won't have too many issues going forward. So I missed all of this, and I come back just to hear you say, I think someone's in my ass.
Well, I don't. That was definitely from Ryan. I do not think anybody's in my ass. Just to clear the record.
Okie doke, mate. Okie doke. I suppose I should really, give a bit of news, I guess, as to what I've been up to and what's coming up later in the week. And I sort of spilled the beans on Bang Bang podcast this morning when it came out. If anybody listened to that earlier in the day, Monday mornings, isn't it? Bang Bang comes out, and Andy had a bit of an exclusive on there, I guess, because I hadn't talked about it anywhere else beforehand. Okay. But people may be noticing a few things on Twitter and social media and so on about effectively different shows and so on. I'm by the end of the week, hopefully, my own network will be up and running, and pretty much everything I do audio-wise will be going across to that network. So that would include the Chain Wrestling podcast version, the Doctor Who pod, Nitro Nights, all these sort of things. I mean, some of them will still stay on Visionaries Global Media, Nitro Nights, etc., and so on as well. But pretty much everything else I'm involved in will go across there. There'll be new shows debuting as well. One or two involving myself, one involving my good lady wife as well. She's making not her podcast debut, but her podcast hosting debut, I guess, because it's going to be a regular show that Sharon and I are going to host together. The waiting room will be restarting back over on SJP World Media. It's going to be referred to as a fortnightly show. We have a podcast coming from the States called Regularly Scheduled Hostilities with Chuck, Yvonne, and Josh, the three hosts there. They review WWE modern product week by week, SmackDown and Raw every week and so on, which is something that I don't look at myself. So that corner of the wrestling world will also be covered for everybody on the network as well. We will have Benny Mac coming across with a few of his shows as well. A new one from him also looking specifically at the WWE pay-per-views, modern ones as they happen, and then older ones every now and again for special edition episodes also. And we've also got somebody who we all know very well starting their own podcast up for the network. But I'm not going to mention any names or spill the beans on that because this individual is still working away on their ideas and so on, but that will be coming very soon as well. So I would like everybody, please, to go and follow at SJP World Media on Twitter. It's quite simple to find. Most of you might be following it already because I just changed an old account. I'm not going to lie. But you can also find the details just by following me on Twitter at SJP Words as well. The first show to come out on the new network will be a solo recording, just me on my own, talking through what's going to happen on the network going forward, when things will be happening date-wise and so on. That should be with you, I believe, Thursday morning, UK time. And then a few hours after that, shows will drop Thursday lunchtime, afternoon, our time. And that'll probably include the Chain Wrestling audio version, which will be a day late this week because of the changes going on with what I'm doing. I want to make it absolutely clear before anyone starts being a knobhead about it. This is no slight at all on any other network I've been involved in or any other person who has helped me in the past. For example, Visionaries, Tekkers, or anything like that. And to be honest, I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for the support of those people. Mags, Tanner, Matt, and everyone involved at Radio Tekkers have been hugely supportive in my podcasting journey, as cheesy as it sounds, I guess. And when I mentioned to Tanner, especially that this is what I was going to be doing, he was, again, hugely supportive with what I was, and he said he was very excited to see where I was going with stuff as well. So, yeah, so that's my big news, that if you've not listened to Bang Bang podcast this morning yet, first of all, why the hell not? Get on that. It's an amazing show. But secondly, there we go. It's, this is my new news, pal.
Yeah, exciting for you. I will say, and you'll know from obviously knowing what I went through. Pace yourself. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to put out content, because that's when it stops being fun. But I am massively proud of you from being a part of your journey from literally day one, from the first ever kind of like foray into podcasting, to see where you've gone and where you've grown, and for you to have your own network. It's amazing. I'm so proud to be a part of that journey. I'm so proud to see you blossom in this. And I think I said on that, whether it was on the recording or afterwards, this is something that I could totally see you doing. And you've way kind of exceeded any expectations or any kind of like thoughts of how far you will go on this. I'm ever so proud of you.
Mate, honestly, that means so much coming from you as well. When you said it's literally right from day dot with what I've been doing, and that's true. It is. It's the first podcast I was ever on was hosted by yourself, and that's how we obviously got in contact. You reached out to me about coming on as a guest. My very first podcast was you coming on my show, so that was the very first one I ever did of my own show as well. And obviously, Chain Wrestling, 50 live episodes, 30 odd audio. I mean, we're fast approaching our 100th episode.
100.
Forward to, very much so. Also on that note, by the time the network opens up and gets going properly, there will be links being shared left, right, and centre with merch for pretty much every show I'm involved in. So if you want a wee woo beep boop,
you Hogan, you absolute Hogan in it.
You want a wee woo beep boop Doctor Who pod t-shirt? There will be one. You want you want a Pimple Dick t-shirt? You want a Hall of Lane t-shirt? All sorts of Chain Wrestling merch. There will be some. You want Nitro Nights tops? Everything. They're going to all be there. So yeah, buy it because I'm poor, and that's the way it works. So that's what we're doing. Yeah, but no, honestly, Magsy, it means a lot. You saying those kind words, mate. I really appreciate it. And yeah, as I said on Bang Bang the other night, which came out today. Crazy nervous, but crazy excited at the same time. So yeah, hopefully people will enjoy what's coming out. I mean, it's not going to dramatically change what I'm recording myself. It's just a few other bits and bobs I'll be working around as well to get stuff done and so on. So yeah, very exciting, but also pretty nervy and shitting myself.
Always remember you've got a massive community that you can reach out for help, and we would all do anything, drop everything at the drop of a hat to come and help you. So we're all behind you on this.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Magsy, before I sort of well up and get emotional with all your kind words, mate, shall we throw some crap away into the Hall of Lane this week?
Yeah, we shall. Going through all the comments then, I forgot where the video was, but let's do it. That's very apropos. More apropos than you think. Is that noise today?
Oh, okay. Spill the beans, my friend.
Okay, so this entry was actually inspired by Money in the Bank. Like I said, I had it on the second screen. I was kind of like side-eyeing it, and I mentioned that one of these competitors had a fairly decent match against Ronda Rousey. So this week's entrant for me is wrestling royalty. Essentially, it's Natalya Neidhart. So. Let's go back to around 2011, late 2011, early 2012. Nata was in a tag team called the Divas of Doom with Beth Phoenix, and their whole gimmick was going around kind of essentially beating up all the rest of the women, essentially bullying them. But as WWE tends to do with tag teams, there's always one who's going to be the star. Beth Phoenix, there's always one who is kind of going to get dropped by the wayside, and that unfortunately was Natty. But with Natty being as I said, wrestling royalty. It's not. She wasn't just going to fade away into the background. They were obviously going to have a gimmick ready, prepared for her. Now, if we know one thing about Vince, apart from that he's a bit of a philanderer, is that he loves toilet humour. He finds nothing funnier than bodily functions, than pushing people in pools, than making a coach cry because he thinks he's going to be arrested by the police. But he loves farts. He loves fart gags. So
who doesn't though? Who doesn't?
One fart gag is funny at the time.
Yes.
So he gave Natty the gimmick where she brought wind. And it started, I believe, when she was trying to angle for a match against Axana, who was with Teddy Long at the time. And whilst doing this promo, she dropped a pack. Now, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. Watching them back today, I couldn't stop laughing. And then they bring in one of the best kind of comedy wrestlers in the company at that time, Santino Marella. He walks in and smells it, and he's like, it's in my mouth. Oh, it's in my mouth. But things like that start to get a little bit boring. They kind of Vince over-eggs the pudding. He doesn't know when enough is enough. So Natty started losing matches, getting rolled up all the time to make her the weak link in this tag team. There is there's a vignette where Natty and Beth Phoenix are doing stretchers in the corridor for some reason, and Natty just drops a pack again, and Santino walks into it and ends up throwing up in a bin. There's a backstage bit with Tyson Kidd where he's commenting on how it's natural but disgusting, and she thinks she's talking about her talking too much when she's nervous, and he's obviously talking about her dropping her guts. So again, she drops her guts there. And poor Hornswoggle walks past, breathes it in, and collapses. And she blames Tyson Kidd for it. Then they started doing it in matches, and then the commentary team started to comment on it. And there's a part where Booker T tries to blame it on protein drinks, saying that it given her irritable bowel syndrome. It did slowly kind of like fade away, and after I think it actually only went on for about a month or so, but it actually led to Natty turning face, because in a spot with Eve Torres, who was a heel at the time, she dropped a pack and smiled, and the crowd loved her for it. So it helped her in that way to drop her guts. But yeah, going in to the Hall of Lame for me this week is farting Natalia Neidhart.
Oh, and it was terrible. It was. I mean, like you said, Magsy, it's that same scenario. I suppose it happens with pretty much everything in wrestling. It's brilliant or funny or whatever for a moment, but it gets overdone and basically flogged till it's dead, isn't it? And then this was, well worth the spot in the Hall of Fame, mate. Well worth the spot in the Hall. That's a great show. Oh dear. Yes, terrible. It will surprise absolutely no one that I'm going to WCW again this week.
And it's Barry Windham.
And this week, it's not Barry Windham. Stop it with Barry Windham, will you please? It's not going to happen. Barry Windham's
it's the new Blackjacks.
That's the stalker. To be fair, they do deserve it. No, Barry Windham's great. I'm going to go to August of '99. Maxie, do you like a little bit of rock and roll, mate? Do you like a bit of hard rock?
No,
not at all.
Not if I think it is what. If it is what I think it is, then no, I don't like it.
Okay, it probably is what you're thinking. the hottest band in the world, as the intro goes. In August of '99, the WCW, well, it was Eric Bischoff's idea, but he actually left the company around this time, so he didn't see it through. But he came up with the plan to effectively license the images and the get-up and the face paint and so on of the incredible band Kiss. I'm a massive Kiss fan. I love Kiss. I've seen them live several times. Just insanely good. However, this was not insanely good at all. Gene Simmons handpicked out an individual, apparently, who he said should be the guy who plays the Demon in WCW television. Because he wasn't very big, they initially debuted Bryan Adams in the role. But he ran a mile when he realised it absolutely stank and they weren't going to go nowhere. We even had Kiss performing live on Nitro. They closed off an episode of Nitro when the Demon character made his debut. And he came.
That was the main part of the contract. The contract was to get Kiss to do a gig.
Yeah.
And Gene Simmons wanted the wrestling character as part of that deal.
Yes, but this is the thing as well. That's not where it ended. You know, on screen, yes, but initially it was supposed to be part of a group called the Warriors of Kiss, and there was going to be 4 of them. There was going to be 1 per character in Kiss. Oh my goodness! But the scene when the Demon debuts, the character who's going into the Hall of Fame from me this week, the Kiss Demon, when he debuts, that's actually quite cool. Kiss are performing, obviously lip syncing very, very badly. You know, performing away, and then they're playing God of Thunder, which is an absolute belter of a record, and then the Demon character comes up in this massive casing, opens up, stands there, looks incredible. Nitro goes off the air. It's like, whoa, okay. Cost tens of thousands of dollars to get Kiss to perform, to get the licensing rights to the image, the intellectual property, I believe it's called, isn't it? The image of the face paint and so on, for them to use it with the Demon character. And the promise was also made that the Demon will wrestle in a main event match. This was also written into the contract by Gene Simmons and Eric Bischoff and so on. However, Dale Torborg ended up taking over as the Demon. He was not the most experienced, and to be fair to him, he's done brilliant in his life since. He's involved in baseball, he's conditioning coach and so on. He's done really well for himself, so good luck to the guy. And you see him in interviews, he's a lovely fella. But this gimmick just sank straight away. There was supposed to be a pay-per-view on New Year's Eve, which quickly got canned because that was supposed to be the debut of the Demon originally. That got shuffled around when Bischoff left the company. The Demon lost his very first match to an aging Terry Funk. And it was basically seen as a way of laughing at Bischoff at times to have the Demon lose matches over and over again on WCW television. The idea, I suppose, in practice, I can kind of see the logic behind it. But this is 1999. This isn't 1979. Kiss aren't as big as they once were. I mean, they did their reunion tour in 96, and it literally fell off a cliff in 97. So this is not Kiss in a very good time of their careers anyway. The legality went back and forth. There was all sorts of contractual issues. Eventually, they put the Demon in a special main event match, and he wrestled 4th on the show, because that's where all main events are, obviously, on a pay-per-view, and lost to the Wall in a couple of minutes, just to tick the box of having him in a main event. Oof. Oh, my goodness. In theory, I suppose on paper, might look like a good idea, but in execution, this was shockingly bad. So going into the Hall of Fame from me this week, Magsy, is the Kiss Demon on WCW.
A great pick. And it was, I mean, I credit Eric Bischoff for kind of using mainstream media to WCW's benefit. A lot of the times it worked. He pulled it off. This didn't work. This didn't work at all. And like you said, Kiss weren't as popular as they had been in their history before. The poor Dale Torborg just wasn't the wrestler for this gimmick. He didn't have the charisma to pull it off. He was green as goose shit.
No.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, not a good look, mate. Not a good look. So there we go. Our Hall of Lame entrance this week: Farty Natty and the Kiss Demon. Two completely different characters, but equally as freaking lame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we jump into the chat, Magsy? Have a little look at what we got there before we get on to our non-wrestling topic this week.
We shall, and you try and sort out that lag. So
Am I lagging now? Am I? Oh God!
You're a few seconds, but we've managed with worse before. Yeah, a lot going on in the chat. Connor said he's been celebrating with cookouts. Happy Independence Day to you, sir. 1 second. Matt saying that Liv got the recognition she deserved. Dan is not happy at Austin Theory. A lot of congratulations for you with your podcast news.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Know how saying you should call your network the S Team.
Haha.
Nishka angling for a job on your network. Says once a year, that's what you'll get. He's a busy man scratching his balls.
Hey, once a year is good enough.
And Dan Griffin saying SJPW Mania is running wild. Brackets soon. Connor saying how proud he is of you. Dan wants a Wee Woo Beat Bop t-shirt. And I think it may be for Fitch, according to Morty. Welcome in, Morty. Nice to see you, sir. So, yeah, Ryan saying that he's willing to help other people with their podcasting needs as long as he doesn't have to promote his own. That's fine. A lot of hate for Talia Nardhart, Natalia Nardfart. Matt Booth loves farts, according to Ryan. Should have come to mind about 3 hours after I've been to the gym. Jim, what is this gym you speak of? Absolutely brilliant. Barry Windham is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Hall of Lamer, apologies, not Hall of Famer, definitely not Hall of Famer. And if you put 3 count in there, Tank Abbott will kick the fuck out of you. I think that's to the Kiss Demon. The reveal of the Kiss Demon was the lowest rated segment of the Monday Night Wars. Yeah, I saw a video that had like the worst gimmicks, and it said that how badly that gimmick went over. He got a little reaction when he rocked up on Impact. Has he been on Impact?
Yeah, he did. He retired. Oh, when did he retire? 2003, maybe something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't take up. He had an opportunity to go and have a tryout for the WWE, but he didn't take it up. So I think it was around that sort of time.
Okay, that's fair. Dan saying every time the Demon appeared, they had to pay Gene Simmons, and so many booking combos trotted it out to take the piss out of Bischoff, but ultimately shot WCW in the foot. Yep. Kiss Demon would have been a great WCW toy. Absolutely no, it would not. Know how saying it's genuinely great to see you so happy and living your best life, mate.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Neil,
a lot of love for you today.
Neil.
Oh yeah, you were saying that you think it's Neil.
Yeah, fairly certain.
Dan Griffin saying I'm not buying anything for Fitch. He wastes his money on car wax and dildo nose dodos. Brilliant.
Dildo nose dodos.
I didn't know they were even a thing.
No, but hey, sounds easy to market, doesn't it? A name like that. So there we go.
Certainly does. Multi-use dodos.
Yeah. Shall we jump to Twitter at Magsy before my internet shits the bed again and it all goes pear-shaped and I have to disappear?
Let's do it.
Okie doke. Right, basically, this week's non-wrestling topic, we spoke of being patriotic, I guess, whether you are patriotic or not, what makes you feel patriotic for any particular reason, or because it is July 4th and, USA, and all that stuff. We had
Wales, apparently.
And Wales, yeah. I was just trying to chuck anything up there, and I thought, well, we've got some Welsh people who listen, haven't we?
Maybe one, maybe two.
Yeah. Well, that's enough then. So there you go. Nice little dragon for you, fellas. All right. So I literally in the order they came into us, which doesn't help you at all, Maggie. I know. It'll be all over the place, mate. All over the place. But yeah, I got mostly on Twitter, 2 at the very end via WhatsApp. But I will just run through here. So, with regards to feeling patriotic, at 5 Nerds Go, we have here the rugby when they sing Jerusalem because it's better than the national anthem. Yeah, that gets me as well. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Good shout.
Walked down the mall once, and that was lovely. Okay. Don't quite grasp that one.
Okay.
And also feeling patriotic whilst cracking one out to the Duchess of Cambridge.
Firing off some patriotic knuckle children.
Oh, dear me. Oh, dear. Tyler Peters at Dustin Tyler 86 on Twitter. He says military-themed events make him feel very patriotic. And they do get a great deal of those over in the States, don't they? Military-themed events and so on.
They have a lot of military-based days as well, don't they? Like holidays.
Yeah, like loads and loads. Like effectively what we have as bank holidays, I suppose, isn't it? They have like, it seems like every other week they have a day off or something.
Yeah. Labour Day, President's Day.
Yeah. We should start getting in on that, I think. You know, we should get
Prime Minister Day.
Prime Minister Day, yeah. Sharon's saying that buffering on there. Is that me, is it?
Yep, it is.
Me. For goodness sake. I do apologise to everyone out there. This is driving me as batty as I can imagine it's driving
And this is a guy running his own network soon, folks.
Hey, don't you worry about that. Don't you worry about that. That's all going to be...
Don't you worry about that.
Dan Griffin, at Dan Griffin 21. He says, nothing makes me feel patriotic really anymore. This country is such a shit heap run by bastards. It's difficult to be infused. However, sport success usually does it, although that's more allegiance to the team rather than the nation.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people feel like that, especially over the last few years where Britain has gone to hell in a handbasket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair shite. Morty, at MortyJR5 on Twitter. He says, this is a tough one. A lot embarrasses me about England. I don't know if it's patriotic per se, but I'm very proud of the NHS. Oh, and bacon. No country does bacon like England, and they're all missing out. Yeah, fair enough, mate.
Isn't most English bacon sourced from Denmark?
Yeah, but they don't cook it like us, mate. We cook the best bacon.
What, in dripping? We cook it in beef dripping.
Yeah, no, exactly, mate. A good old English fryer. Can't beat that, pal. Can't beat that. I had a fryer this afternoon. I made a fryer for me and the wife and the kids. Banging.
Oh, a Monday fry-up, you maverick.
Yeah. Oh, mate, living on the edge, I am. Living on the edge. Connor Knows Soccer, at Connor Knows Footy on Twitter. He says, watching Team USA play in an international match, rather if it's a tournament or a friendly match, when they take to the pitch, there's always a sense of American pride for me. Yeah, I get that.
And I think a lot of Americans are incredibly patriotic about their national sides, no matter what sport.
Yeah, I used to have that feeling with regards to the England team when I was younger. And then for a long time, I was just like, okay, tournaments come around, I'd watch, obviously I'd want them to win, but, you know, it was just embarrassing sometimes, especially how other fans would talk, you know? But then we had a couple of good tournaments recently. But again, you have this Nations League. It's just, I'm just not arsed, mate.
Yeah, I saw, I think, one of the Nations League, and then, yeah, it was, you could see that the team couldn't give a shit about it, so why should the fans? It's clearly a money-making scheme rather than something to be proud of if your nation wins.
Yeah, exactly. Danny, at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter. He says here, this confused me a little bit, Magsy, because obviously he's from Kent, isn't he? But he says here, as a kid, the Highlanders were my favourite Raw tag team.
Until they showed up on Nitro. Impact, didn't they? And then got sacked.
Yeah. It was the one of them when he took his kid, I think, wasn't it, to watch an Impact show or something like that?
Was one of them, was he called Rory or Robbie?
Yeah,
That'd been Robbie. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. He says he's watched one Rangers versus Celtic game, and he's going back to Scotland in August for a holiday. Does this count? Yeah, I suppose. I thought you were from
going
Kent,
to Scotland for a holiday. Jesus Christ. That's when you're on the bones of your arse when Scotland is a holiday.
It's, everyone goes where. Don't get me wrong. Even when in the summer, it's cold up there, isn't it? Their summer lasts like 20 minutes, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, been and gone. It's already been and gone.
Yeah. Good guy Dave on Twitter at Dave Pozewski. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I am sorry. Movies gets him feeling patriotic, and he did attach a clip of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington speech, which I have not seen, so I'm gonna have to check this film out and see what it's all about. But are you aware of this one, Magsy?
And I know the film. Yeah, I prefer the Simpsons Mickey take of it when Homer goes in the middle of the court and starts spinning around like he kind of lies down his side and kicks his legs and starts spinning around. But yeah, I know of it.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar. I'm going to have to check it out. Rob,
you will never watch it.
I probably won't, mate. I'm going to literally within 10 minutes. I'm going to have forgotten we've had this conversation. That's just the way it works. At UTT Rob on Twitter, he responded to Dan Griffin saying he would say spot on or snap on national patriotism. Sorry. But once you've seen Huddersfield Town, international football loses all its gloss. Yorkshire patriotism, now that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
And then Dan responds, oh yeah, Yorkshire pride is unquestionable. If Scotland get independence, I want us to follow suit. So Yorkshire would be its own country.
I mean, as someone from Lancashire and with a very historical hatred of Yorkshire, I'd happily let them go. Size for us again. Here we go. Brilliant. Yeah. So you
okay.
Was that a massive lag? I'm going to actually count the seconds between these lags.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but you were just lagging. Like,
for God's sake.
Brilliant. Anyway, let's move on to the next one.
Yes, okay. Millwall Chris at Millwall Chris 1. It seems nowadays that we should be ashamed of being English. I love our national anthem. I love our sport. I love our humour. Find me a country with better comedy than us, and I'll find you someone who thinks R. Kelly would make a great babysitter.
Jesus.
Oh, dear me. Chris continues. Don't get me wrong, there's quite a few things I don't like about our country, but it's still our country. When it comes to sport, whether it's football, Olympics, I know it's Britain in the Olympics, he says here. Tiddlywinks, chess, whatever it is, I'm backing us. It does tend to be with sports, I suppose, that gets people now fired up, doesn't it, Mags?
Yeah, especially in Britain. We're a very sport-centric country, very proud of the achievements that our little island have been able to do so. And also Chris, he does give off Millwall vibes, very EDL-esque almost. So, but yeah, some great picks there by Chris.
Yeah, definitely. At Radio Tekkers, not feeling so patriotic, Fisher, because, well, just look at the news from last month. Yeah, he comes from the States, so I can appreciate where he's coming from with that one. And
especially he comes from Texas, who are definitely not doing the best in terms of their politicians, plus the whole anti-abortion thing that's going on, the stuff with Trump and the stolen election. Yeah, I don't blame him for not feeling too patriotic.
No, I agree. MGB Graham on Twitter, he just says my initials. I suppose GB.
Yeah, fair play.
Fair enough. Good cop, bad cop wrestling podcast.
Now this could be Matt or Graham. I assume it's Graham.
Yeah, I think so. He says here, I love to hear the Star Spangled Banner or Oh Canada sung at sporting events when in the USA or Canada. Fair enough. Those are proper anthems as well, though, aren't
they? The national anthems. They're so good that they made them national.
No, knobhead. That's not what I mean. They're proper, like ours. Don't get me wrong. It's our national anthem, and you stand there and you sing it out with the football and all that sort of stuff. But it's dreary and depressing, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's a bit of a drudge, you know?
Is it?
I reckon.
I don't share that sentiment at all.
Do you not? Okay. I think
No.
You know, something like you listen to like Rule Britannia or something. That's a bit more upbeat, a bit more, you know.
Okay, that's I suppose, but what's wrong with God Save the Queen?
Well, no, I'm not saying there's anything specifically wrong with it. I'm just saying I think there are better options. You listen to other countries' national anthems, it's a bit more like, you know, rousing. Ours is just a bit.
So what are you suggesting, that we make a law to switch to Vindaloo for our national anthem?
Well, no, not Vindaloo, but you know,
Three Lions.
Maybe some mid-90s techno or something.
What about Gina G, who are just a little bit?
Yeah, that'd work. Went into Eurovision.
That would be a brilliant national anthem, actually.
Stood on your hand on your chest. Ooh, just a little bit. Ooh, Christopher Lewis on Twitter at ChrisLewis37. He says, for me, the iconic sites in London, Buckingham Palace, Big Ben, etc., but most of all, the 2012 Olympic Park. Takes me back to when I was one of the volunteer games makers and we helped put on a bloody good show and welcomed the world to the London 2012 Games. That place, the Olympic Park, is amazing.
Yeah, it is. And it's things like that even when Britain is not in the best place in terms of how they're viewed in the world, the way we knocked out the park for the Olympics, and every time we hold like a World Cup or a Commonwealth Games, we really go all out. So yeah, that's definitely something we should be proud of.
Yeah, that stadium, I saw Guns N' Roses there, and honestly, that stadium's amazing. It's so good. The bar staff, different story, but that's a story for another time. Steve-O at Total Steve-O on Twitter, and there's quite a bit here, so I will read through it, just continuing on tweet by tweet as normal. He says, I'm not patriotic at all, to be honest. There's nothing I feel...
Great start.
Yeah, that's exactly the sort of thing we need to hear. Our topic is about being patriotic, and we start off with, I'm not patriotic at all. Brilliant. There's nothing I feel I should be patriotic... There's nothing I feel I should be patriotic at all. However, I am a mark for the old 60s, 70s, World War II films. And Longest Day, Bridge Too Far, do pull at the heartstrings. Especially the music at the end encapsulates the mood. Makes me feel proud to be British. But as Carl Pilkington once said, it was different back then, in it together. That's why I fucking hate the majority of people. Doesn't help that I work in retail, and especially this social media bullshit day and age. Bunch of self-entitled pieces of shit. Why on earth I feel proud of this planet, let alone this country. Actually, as I write, another film where it gets emotional, patriotic, and very powerful scene is in Zulu, when they sing Men of Harlech. Is that how you say that?
Yep, Harlech.
Yeah. It genuinely hits me hard. And he's included a link to it as well. So I'll retweet that from the Chain Wrestling Twitter account, at @chain_wrestling, if you want to go and check that out. Steve-O for Prime Minister, Dan Griffin says in the chat there. Excellent.
He's got about as much patriotism as Boris Johnson anyway. So in a day where we are celebrating being proud of your nation, Steve-O just 180s it and just says there's fuck all to be proud of if this, not only of the nation but the world.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
The whole planet is full of bastards. You're just an absolute shower of thunder bastards.
Yeah.
James at 80s and 90s Wrestling. He says, when people call Wolverhampton a shithole, it pisses me off. Well, Steve-O's gone a little bit broader than that. He's talking about the whole planet.
It's the world. The planet's a shithole.
We know it's a shithole, but it's our shithole, James says. I back England in sporting events, but that's as far as it goes for me being proud of being English. How Jerusalem is belted out before England test matches gives a buzz. When he says test matches, I'm assuming that's cricket, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because I know there's rugby test matches as well, isn't there? But that's different.
I mean, it'd be rugby as well.
Oh, okay. They sing it there as well, do they? Okay. I don't know, so I don't know. I never enjoyed either of those games, but I mean, each to their own. But it was never something I got into. So.
Oh, how can you not like cricket? Cricket is awesome.
No, I'll tell you what. That 100 that was on last year.
Yeah.
That me and Sharon got into, and we actually turned the football over to watch the end of some of that. That got really good. Like when there was like 10 balls left and they were 15 runs behind or whatever. That was exciting. But this playing bloody 6 matches, and each match takes fucking 9 months, and they rumble on, and they draw 5 each anyway. Bollocks, man. That's a load of rubbish.
Oof.
What's that? Boofy. Cricket is for people who go dogging. Oh, okay. Good to know.
And I've just admitted to liking cricket. That's awkward. Connor saying cricket is a poor man's baseball and cricket is a men's sea. Well, it must be a northern thing, even though a lot of southern counties are pretty good. It's very much a northern thing. Going out on the lash and watching some cricket is a cracking day out. Yeah,
but that's the thing, isn't it? Right, the cricket is, I think, for a lot of people, for me especially, I've been to a cricket festival at Cheltenham. And it was literally a day on the lash, and that's fine. And I think that's a very English thing as well, just a day on the piss.
Just getting pissed up.
Yeah, and I think the cricket was for me and the people I was with, the cricket was very much secondary to the actual drinking. The drinking was the priority.
Well, yeah, I mean, that does make sense, but you can also enjoy the cricket, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I watched, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe. It was all right.
Good. The faster paced games like the 2020 Big Bash and the 100, they're really exciting. They are really exciting. I can see.
I did enjoy that.
Yeah, I can see why Test cricket can be hard to get into, but it's more of a chess match compared to like the checkers of the short form game.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. The last 2 I have, Magsy, are via WhatsApp, my friend, so don't worry about trying to find these. The first one comes from our good buddy Matt Willis, who we recently recorded an episode of the Doctor Who pod with, which will be with you in a few weeks' time on the SJP World Media Network, of course. And then we were talking about John... Oh, yeah, mate, I'm all about the cheap plug, honestly. All about the cheap plug. People need to get used to it because it's going to keep happening. Matt says here, patriotic non-wrestling topic. There's a few things which make me feel patriotic. The national team always makes me proud. It doesn't always make me proud, you know. I cheer them on. Don't always make me proud, though, because let's be honest, there are occasions where they are fucking dire. It is a fantastic anthem. Listen to the fans drowning out Paul Young at Wembley in 1996, for example. Okay. Every time I've visited Wembley, I get that feeling of English pride. Yeah, okay. It's a wonderful stadium, as is Silverstone, the home of international motorsport. Very awesome that we held the 70th anniversary Grand Prix at the track. In addition to the British Grand Prix, we also boast the most F1 world champions as well, with 10. And there's a list of names here that most of them I have no idea who they are. But the most patriotic I felt in recent times was last summer, Matt says, covering the year delayed Euros alongside Tanner and his lordship Mags. Without a shadow of a doubt, following England's journey to the final, from the 0-0 against Scotland to the 2-0 revenge against Germany, then the 4-0 demolition of Ukraine, before the extra time win in the semi against Denmark, where I cried, and then the emotional roller coaster that was the final. We lost, but my God, was I proud to be an Englishman that night. Fair enough. Yeah, it was a great tournament. It was. It
really, really was. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah. And lastly, and I've saved this one till the end purposely. This is from Charlie, my youngest daughter. She says, pride about being British / English. She likes a chippy tea and a nice cup of tea.
Yeah,
that's definitely my little girl.
That's amazing. What a great thing to be proud of.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's my little girl. Well done, Charlie. Well done. What about you, Magsy, mate?
I wouldn't say I'm the most patriotic person. I kind of do share a lot of sympathies with Steve-O. I do think people are a bunch of bastards most of the time. But I do also think that we are such a small country in the grand scheme of the world, a tiny island, and yet we've led the world in so many different fields, like in things like education, national health, a lot of sport. I mean, we ran the British Empire. Yeah, it was very sketchy and very based on taking over countries that maybe we shouldn't have had any involvement in, but as a small country who are trapped on an island, for us to be such a force in the world, that is something to be quite proud of. But yeah, I think things like the NHS, I mean, that is, as much as our politicians try and deride it and try and get rid of it, it's looked at as absolutely amazing from a lot of the rest of the world. So I think sometimes it's, especially over the last few years, it's easy to put down the fact that we're British, but I do think we have quite a lot that we can be proud of.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I agree, mate. I agree. I mean, something that was on telly the other day really makes me smile, and that's the beginning. Like the old Bond films, and you have the beginning bit of the Bond film before the main theme plays.
Okay.
And The Spy Who Loved Me was on. So it was the whole skiing scene, and it's just ridiculous. He's in bright yellow, he's skiing backwards, shooting, and all this sort of stuff. Then he flies off the edge of this big cliff, I suppose, this big mountainside, and it looks like he's going to die, and his skis are coming off and all this. And then his backpack opens, and his parachute is a Union Jack, and they play the Bond music, and he floats away. That gets me every single time.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That gets me, because it's just silly, but I love it. It's brilliant. You mentioned about England being a tiny little island. I think our football pyramid system is something we should be really proud of. There's over 100 professional football clubs in this tiny little island. And you look at places as vast as, I don't know, Brazil, the United States, Germany, Russia, all these massive, vast countries who also play football. Yes, granted, for some of them, they're not in it as long or been interested in it as long as potentially, say, other countries. But it's all these vast, huge, countries. They don't support anywhere near as many fully professional football clubs or even amateur clubs as we do. And I think that's something we should be really proud of.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's kind of all I got, Mags.
Because you're not that patriotic at all.
Well, no, I mean, I am. I am. Again, England in a tournament, sound. But I'm old enough to have watched so many tournaments where they're just bloody embarrassing. You know, it's just, God's sake, But yeah, that's kind of it, really, for me. I don't really follow rugby. I don't really follow cricket. So it's difficult for me to make that link with other sports, I suppose.
I mean, you don't just have to be proud of sports.
No, true. I mean, I'm proud of our music. We've had some
There
fantastic musical acts, You
So
look at
there
the
you
Beatles,
go.
the Stones, Oasis, and we invented heavy metal, for crying out loud. Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, all these acts. Yeah, I'm proud of that, I guess. Yeah.
So there you go. You found your niche of patriotism.
There we go. And that makes me happy. That makes me happy. So then, Magsy, should we just talk a bit of wrestling, mate?
Let me get the video up. Yes, we shall.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Magsy, you won the poll again.
I know. What is wrong with people?
What's
voting
going
for
on?
my show? I mean, to be fair, there were two great picks.
They weren't. Mine was shite.
Well, I'm trying to bull you up on the day you released news of your new network, and you're just self-deprecating. No, I mean the pick that won. It's been on a poll before, and it lost. and it's a match that we definitely needed to cover at some time, just because of its importance to the world of wrestling.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. The selection that won the poll was Magsy's selection, as I said, and it was the goings on, shall we say, with regards to Bill Goldberg, the Georgia Dome, Monday Nitro, the 6th of July, 1998.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this, I suppose, to set the scene, this began, what would it be, 4 or 5 days previous on Thunder. JJ Dillon
On the Thunder,
announces,
Thursday Night Thunder.
JJ Dillon announces that Hogan will have to defend the world title against the man he believes is the number one contender, and that is the unbeaten Bill Goldberg. That's it. And the crowd go batshit crazy, as they should. Because I think this is quite important as well, that people check out this kind of, this Nitro especially is a good insight as to what was going on at the time, because it's very easy for fans to forget just how hot WCW was for a period. And it's easy to forget just how great Bill Goldberg was for a time, especially now, because you have Bill Goldberg coming back in his 50s, wrestling these Saudi matches, nearly killing The Undertaker, not looking how this monster killing machine should look. So younger fans who haven't seen Bill Goldberg in 1998 really need to go and check this out. I really suggest going and watching this episode of Nitro, because it was a phenomenon, wasn't it, Max? It was just this huge swelling of support for this guy who only really had like 5 moves.
Yeah, and they're only really coming on the scene. I think they mentioned it a couple of times throughout the show, like the previous September. So he'd only been wrestling on TV for about 10 months. So very much in almost the Kurt Angle mold of how he took to wrestling. And yeah, he was never going to be a technical marvel. That wasn't his wheelhouse. He was get in, hit these 4 or 5 moves of doom, and get out. And that's how he got in 10 months to 105-0 or 106-0, whatever it was he was going into the show. But the crowd loved him. He was WCW's version of Stone Cold Steve Austin, and not just in looks and appearance, but just in how much the crowd were behind him.
Yeah, there was this aura, wasn't there? And it was, and it is the power moves. He was a killer. He'd come out, destroy someone in 90 seconds, walk off again. And he didn't speak for a while after his debut either. They try and get interviews with him for the first few weeks, and he just blank Mean Gene and stuff. He just wouldn't, and that kind of added to it, I think, as well. He was just this guy in black trunks, black boots, would come out, destroy people with incredible power moves, and then just walk off again. And it was like, why? Who is this guy? Yeah, eventually he went on. Sorry,
I was just going to say the wrestling, especially in the first, say, 100 or so matches, was irrelevant. The wrestling was just the icing on the cake. His whole aura, his whole kind of entourage walking to the ring, the breathing in the pyro smoke and blowing out, looking like a dragon, the screaming and sticking his tongue out. That was the Goldberg that everyone came to. It just so happens he spent 90 seconds or so beating the living piss out of someone to walk back out. It was very rinse and repeat. He only had to do that same thing over and over again, and the crowd ate it up. The fans ate it up, and he was huge. We now see Goldberg as someone who we groan, we roll our eyes back when we see Goldberg's coming back again. Oh, they're going to take a title off someone to give him. But go back to 97, 98, and he was arguably the hottest wrestler in the world.
Yeah, I agree. Again, this Nitro really sort of, it's almost like a time capsule to basically back up everything you've just said, Max. We have the NWO initially starting the show, don't we? Hogan out there with Bischoff and so on, and Hogan is saying it doesn't matter what JJ Dillon had to say. He's not going to wrestle Goldberg. That match is not going to happen. And then he kind of says, "Oh, it will happen if you can beat somebody else." I mean, it's
such a bad promo.
Yeah, it's just a rambling Hogan promo again, and it's kind of, it's more interesting watching people throw crap in the ring and just the whole attitude of the NWO than really listening to what he has to say, I think.
Yeah, and he was getting the reaction that he wanted. Yeah, it was arguably worse promos than his cocaine fueled Americana promos. It was basic. It was slating the fans, saying that Goldberg only had a couple of fans, but they all had speakerphones, stuff like that. It was very rudimentary, but it got the reaction that it needed. It got the crowd hot because they were calling his boy, their hometown hero, and you've got a stadium full of people on 4 days' notice. Bear in mind. 4 days. We can't stress that enough, that this wasn't built for months and months. This was announced 4 days before, and you have a packed out home crowd stadium for this.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, totally. It was incredible, and the crowd. This Nitro in the Georgia Dome, it looks amazing because the crowd, the signs, everything about it is super. And you get these sweeping camera shots from the top right the way around the higher, I suppose the cheap seats would be the phrase when it used sometimes.
The nosebleeds.
Yeah, sweeping around all these youngsters wearing NWO shirts, holding up Goldberg signs and all this sort of stuff. Absolutely fantastic visual. We then get Scott Hall arrive at the arena, who is the NWO brother that Hogan has said that Goldberg has to go through first. Now, I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but something's not quite right here. Is Hall pissed? Because
he'd been off TV. He'd been off TV for what, I think 4 months. When he got out of that the limo, essentially feet first, he did look pissed. And again, we got another kind of rambling promo where the camera kind of stayed on too long. Hall, Too Sweet, and all the rest of the NWO Hollywood, apart from Vincent, who got parred, which I thought was absolutely fucking hilarious. But yeah, another kind of rambling promo. Hall didn't look in the best condition. He looked like he was struggling with his own kiss demons.
Yes. And obviously Hall is the guy who Goldberg has to face, as I said. And then their match is messy as well, isn't it? And in a contest like this, it's obvious that Scott Hall is the guy who would guide Goldberg through the match. He would be the one calling the match. He'd be the one timing the contest and so on. But it's all over the place. I mean, there's not much in this match to discuss. It's over relatively quickly. But we have a few brilliant arm drags by Goldberg. They looked great. But then we have
adding to his 6 moves of doom.
Yes, exactly. And then we had a weird kind of miscommunication when somebody was sent towards the ropes to basically run the ropes, and Scott Hall kind of just hit the ropes rather than bounced off them and returned, and it was just a mess, Max, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think Scott was not in the best of shape, and Goldberg was still, even though he was in the position that he still needed leading in the ring, and Hall just wasn't that person to do it at this time, and you're right, it looked very, very messy. We did see a lot of kind of like stalling and time wasting with Hall going out to the ring, but it did what it needed to do. Hogan put this kind of obstacle in Goldberg's way, and Goldberg easily beat it. What kind of does get glossed over in this whole kind of Goldberg's rise to winning the world title is how much DDP and Karl Malone helped him throughout this whole show. Because as we know with NWO, when things aren't going quite their way, out come the troops, and this happens essentially in both matches. But in this first one, we see, I think it's the Disciple, we see Kurt Hennig, we see Vincent come out, and they get levelled with chairs by DDP and Karl Malone, which essentially sets up the finish. We see Goldberg get stun gunned on the ropes, then clothesline, which showed he could be taken off his feet, which is something that we hadn't seen a lot of.
No, that's right.
Then we see Hall attempting to go for the outsider's edge, but Goldberg is able to get out of it. Spear, jackhammer, and the crowd erupt because they know now that in less than an hour's time, we're going to see Hogan versus Goldberg.
That crowd, I mean, the crowd are wild. And imagine, for those who haven't seen it, imagine Hogan Rock at WrestleMania 18. That's the levels I'm looking at here with regards to this crowd, this huge dome of 60,000 people in Goldberg's hometown. And Hogan was so hated. I mean, when Scott Hall is going for the outsider's edge, as it's called here, it's the razor's edge as we knew it previously, isn't it? And you can imagine, it's the head between the legs, almost pile driver-esque position. And Goldberg simply just stands up and backdrops him. The crowd go batshit crazy just for that counter. There's just a massive reaction. It's like he's won the match there and then, but obviously he then hits the spear and the jackhammer and so on. It's insane, isn't it, this crowd, Max?
It is. It's a hometown crowd done right. We see, especially in modern day WWE, a hometown crowd usually means the wrestler who's come home is going to lose or get embarrassed. We've seen it with JR joining the Kiss My Ass Club in his hometown, stuff like that. But this was a hometown crowd done right. They played up to that crowd. They made Goldberg, I mean, he was a monster anyway, but they made him look unbeatable. And yeah, that crowd were eating up everything that Goldberg threw at them.
Yeah, just brilliant stuff. That takes us to the main event, which is now, as you said, Magsy, everyone knows it's going to be Goldberg facing Hogan for the world title. Two of the nicest looking belts going. I mean, we should mention as well, Goldberg at this stage is the United States champion. And he's got that really cool US title that I always kind of link with Rick Rude from the early 90s, really. Yeah. With the little American flag on and the wings, and just looks amazing. And then you got the big gold belt that Hogan is wearing as the world champion. Two fantastic looking championships, I think.
I mean, you are biased, obviously.
Yeah,
they're not up there in the top 5 for me, but they are nice looking belts. I'm not a huge fan of the NWO spray painted world title, but I get why it was spray painted. It was all the whole kind of like going up against authority. But yeah, glorious belts. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. And we didn't get it for the whole match, but here I just think everything as a presentation is done right here. Goldberg's entrance. He comes to the ring first, rightfully so. He's the challenger. He comes out of his dressing room, and people are familiar with it now because they've seen it in WWE and so on. But he comes out of his dressing room and he has walked from his dressing room all the way through backstage with a couple of security guards, which then turns into a few more when they meet a certain party that's also going to escort them. And the commentators are building him up and talking about him as he's walking backstage, and he looks amazing. He looks like he's just been carved out of stone, doesn't he? His body looks incredible. He's put together. He's got that fantastic United States Championship around his belt. He's staring. He's got that intense Goldberg stare as well. He's in the zone, so to speak, I suppose. And he's stomping towards the entranceway. Finally steps into the fireworks. Walks out. More fireworks go off. Stomps down to. Oh my goodness! The entrance music going. Everything about it is just perfect for me. This is how you build a babyface challenger to get behind. To me, Max.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He just, I think the best word to describe Goldberg was intense. When his music hit, you sat up and listened. You, like you said, you had that entourage come out. It got bigger and bigger, and the walk seemed to take forever going through the Georgia Dome, and all the way through it. Goldberg is just staring a hole through a point just beyond the camera, makes his way to the stage. Then we saw in the first match him breathing the fire, but I think this second kind of pyro is even better because it engulfs him, and all you can see for a good 30 seconds is the outline of his face. And then when he steps out and the smoke parts and he's breathing it through his nose and looking like a massive bald-headed dragon, it's scary looking. And then he the intensity shows just walking to the ring, like doing the stretching uppercuts and the punches. Yeah, he's a frightening looking man, and you could see why so many fans were drawn to him.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Hogan here is fantastic as well, because the NWO music to me is really iconic because of what it stands for, and that group was so important in WCW and in wrestling in general, I guess, for a certain period of time. But Hogan comes out on his own, first of all, which you didn't see very often in this era. It was normally Hogan with such and such. But here he's coming out on his Todd, playing air guitar on the world title, which, when you see anyone play guitar on a title, for some reason I get a kick out of that. I think it's great. He's got this stupid little bandana thingy on. His tan is way, way, way too intense. He's got the cool lightning NWO tights on and those cool NWO boots. And I think, obviously, the red and yellow Hogan is what got so many people into wrestling as a child. But to me, this is my favourite version of Hulk Hogan, I think.
Yeah, it's edgy. I suppose with the red and yellow, it got so stale, and even Hogan realised that it had run its course, and it must be easily the biggest heel turn in the history of wrestling when he became a bad guy, and he. For all his faults, of him as a person, of him as a politician, him as someone who used his very limited wrestling skills to be the biggest icon in the sport, you've got to give him that as a businessman. He knew how to keep himself relevant, and NWO Hogan it's still up there as iconic.
Yeah, without a doubt. The match itself, I mean, first of all, we're very critical of Hulk Hogan on this show, and rightfully so, for certain periods of his career, certain actions he has made since retiring as well, and so on. Here, I think Hogan is incredibly unselfish.
Giving.
I think
the first thing I thought was how giving he was.
He makes Goldberg look an absolute monster. So the bump he takes just off a shoulder barge, and then the look around of pure fear and shock that he was knocked over like that. The crowd just go wild for it. And Hogan is a master at this. He knows exactly what he's doing. The facial expressions are ticking the boxes that he wants. He's getting the reactions that he requires. The whole test of strength that they did as well. Hogan dropping to his knees and screaming and being unable to match Goldberg for power. I think Hogan here is an absolute star, or star maker, shall we say.
Yeah, and Hogan is renowned for, especially in this period of his career, for using that creative control card. That's not going to work for me, brother. But when he was willing to work and put someone over, he did it with everything in him. And he, like you said, he makes Goldberg come out of this looking like a genuine star. The selling from the moves, some of it is a little bit, it's very 80s Hogan-esque. The stuff with the weightlifting belt when he whips Goldberg, and then Goldberg rips the belt off him. Hogan's like the way that maneuvers himself into the corner, very 80s, very overacting, very kind of almost Ric Flair-ish.
Yeah.
But yeah, he made every move that Goldberg did look brutal. And even Goldberg, he made Hogan look really good as well. There was the point where Hogan was choking Goldberg on the floor, and Goldberg was really, really selling it. So there was a lot of work between the two, and yeah, it made for not a brilliant match in terms of wrestling prowess, but a very entertaining match to watch. And it went by really, really quickly. I didn't remember it being as short as it is.
Yeah, that's something. Well, I'm kind of looking at it slightly different. I think it clocks in at about 16 minutes on the network, doesn't it? But that's entrances as well, I think.
Yeah, I think there's about 8 minutes of wrestling all told.
Right. Okay. See, even that seems long to me. I thought it was over much quicker than that. But it
interesting.
it's weird watching it back because I mean I had to rewind quite a few times watching it back because I just got engrossed in it. I'll watch this match once or twice a year easily because again, big WCW mark and Goldberg for a while was the guy, and he or Hogan I think is awesome. Just great. So I'll watch this, and again, the crowd reactions make it for me. But last time I watched it, I seem to remember it being, I don't know, quicker. I thought he squashed him a lot quicker than this.
Okay.
I don't know why.
I thought it was a little bit longer, knowing like some
weird,
of the spots in it, but yeah, for me it just felt really quick. I mean, it's a Goldberg match. It's not going to be a 25-minute or a Broadway. This was probably the same amount of length as his first 10 matches in the company. But yeah, it was very entertaining to watch, and like we said, we shit on Hogan a lot on this show, but he does make Goldberg look a superstar in this. And it kind of starts really kind of coming to a crescendo when we get towards the end. So we see Hogan and Goldberg outside. Hogan picks up a chair. One of the chair shots he hits Goldberg with, it looked pretty brutal. I think it's the second one. The first one is on the back. Then the second one, I think there might be a bit of miscommunication. Goldberg takes half of it on his head, half of it on his arm. But when we get into the ring, we see 3 leg drops and still can't keep Goldberg down. I mean, you're talking about a move that was untouchable. The leg drop was the finishing move of wrestling for Goldberg to not even be kept down after 3 is, yeah, it just shows how much faith they had in Goldberg. Then we see Kurt Hennig come down. He gets wailed by DDP and Karl Malone. And Karl Malone actually does a diamond cutter as well on the outside of the ring, which is pretty awesome. Then that leads to Hogan being essentially being distracted, set up for the spear, jackhammer, and the crowd pop, not just on the moves, but on the setup of the moves. When the moves were coming, for someone who didn't watch WCW when it was aired, this gave me goose pimples. When you see Goldberg setting up for the spear and the crowd are erupting, when you see him signaling for the jackhammer, the crowd just explode, and then he hits it and gets the pin, and wow, what an eruption.
Yeah, you mentioned the leg drops there as well, Magsy. It's something that I want to touch upon because this as brilliant as this is, all the stuff building up, you got the heel promo at the beginning of the show, the fact he's got to get past Scott Hall, then the brilliant setups with the entrances, and well, actually, I say that there was no ring announcer. Did you notice that? No ring announcer.
No, I didn't actually notice.
No, they just came down to the ring to their music and off they went. There was no ring announcer. I found that strange because I was half expecting Michael Buffer. But then when there was no Michael Buffer, I was like, hang on, there's nobody at all. So, but anyway, it went
maybe with 4 days notice he'd already had a prior engagement.
Yeah, potentially. The match has gone, it's all going well. It's, everything's looking good. And then we get the leg drop spot, which I think should have been a bigger deal than it was, because Hogan hits the leg drop. I wonder if there was a timing issue, maybe, because to me, Hogan hits 3 leg drops. Goldberg should kick out of that. First of all, we should see it on camera. Typical WCW, we've cut the camera to elsewhere. And the crowd should go wild to Goldberg kicking out, but they are distracted by Mr. Perfect coming down. So I wonder if there was a bit of a timing issue there, whether Perfect was supposed to come down as a reaction to Goldberg kicking out of the leg drop, potentially.
Perhaps, yeah, perhaps.
That's my only sort of hang up with it, I think. But yeah, I mean that spear jackhammer combo, absolutely superb, just brilliant stuff, and that crowd reaction was insane. So yeah, just great stuff, mate. And again, I implore everyone, go back and watch this episode of Nitro. You can skip most of it, just watch the beginning with Hogan. Anything Hogan, Goldberg, NWO-esque, watch those bits, build up to the main event. It's well worth your time to watch, just for the crowd and everything.
but the rest of the episode is not good. I mean, you've got the Giant versus Jim Duggan. Who wants to watch that? Public Enemy teaming up with Alex Wright. Yeah, that's not amazing.
No.
Then the co-main event, Sting and Lex Luger versus Kidman and Sitbar. I think that goes about 20 seconds, 20 maybe 30 seconds. And you do get a sit-down interview with Buff Bagwell.
Oh, and who doesn't want that in their life? You know? Oh, dear. I suppose then, Mags, we should take a look at our ratings out of 10, buddy. This one's a difficult one for me to call because ultimately I love it, but the in-ring action is very simplistic. What have you got yourself, mate?
I agree with you. I think for what it did for wrestling and how important it was, this is huge, but we don't judge it on that. We judge it on wrestling. And it's, if judging both of the matches together, I think we're getting less than 15 minutes worth of action. And we're getting a lot of the same kind of moves in both matches. So in terms of in-ring stuff, it's probably no higher than an actual 6. But in terms of what, how excited you felt watching it, it's probably a 9 or close to a 10. But yeah, in terms of the in-ring, it's a 6.
Yeah, I got 6 as well. I didn't factor in the Scott Hall Goldberg match for some reason. I don't know why. I know we watched it and we said we were going to talk about it on the show. I literally just looked at the Hogan one, but even with the Hall stuff as well, it doesn't really change my mind. A 6, I think I agree with you on. But you're right. Yep. That's as a wrestling contest, bell to bell, and so on. If you take in the whole thing, the build up, the fact that Goldberg is coming for Hogan, the title is on the line, the crowd and everything. If you take in the whole package rather than just the in-ring content, you're right. To me, this is a 9.5 easily. It was that exciting. But actually looking at the wrestling content, yeah, a 6 is fair, I think, my friend.
Yep, I agree.
Fair enough. I suppose, Magsy, we want to have a quick look at where shall we go next week.
Okay, so pretty simple link for me. The link is one of the competitors in the match. And nowadays we know of William Goldberg as someone who comes in for 2 matches a year, gets a massive payday and a title run, and everybody groans and is just apathetic to it. But he did have a run in WWE where people were actually excited to see him. In what was it, 2004-ish? He was 2003. Yeah, where he was one of the last of the WCW stalwarts to finally jump over. His run didn't last that long though, and by WrestleMania 20, he was out of the door, and he was followed by his opponent, Mr. Brock Lesnar. So I want to go and watch the WrestleMania 20 match between Goldberg and Brock Lesnar with Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was the special guest referee. And this was the first time I really kind of understood how the internet had started affecting wrestling, because all the crowd knew that both these guys were gone after this, and they gave these two absolute hell throughout this match. So I want to go to WrestleMania 20 to see Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar.
See, that's interesting because I think we're looking at this match here and saying how the crowd made this better than it was. The crowd was so good, it made the in-ring quality better than it was. I've watched the Goldberg-Lesnar match a couple of times, not recently, but people shit on it, to be honest. And I think that they do that because the crowd are so hostile, which is something to view in itself. That's a reason to watch in itself, how hostile the crowd is. But what goes on actually in the ring, I don't think is as bad as people remember. But it's such an interesting dynamic with Lesnar leaving, Goldberg leaving, Austin's there. the crowd are behaving the way they are. To me, it's a really interesting watch, Mags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely two wrestlers who knew that this was their last match, and they want to go out without any injuries. So there's a lot of kind of like slow pace, something that you don't really see from either wrestlers around this period. But I just want to rewatch it for Lesnar's reaction at the end when everyone's giving him loads and loads of shit.
Yes.
So yeah, I go for that match.
Yeah. Oh, mate, if that wins, I'd be happy with that, because I think there's so much we can dive into with that as well, with regards to people's contracts, what they're going to be doing, what they're leaving for, why are they unhappy. I think there's so much meat on the bone for that topic. That could be really interesting. I'm going to use the same link, though, my friend. I'm going to use Mr. Goldberg himself, and I'm going to go a little bit further back from where you are. You're talking his last match in WWE. I've actually got written down in front of me his first match in WWE.
Oh,
I would like to take a look at when Bill Goldberg, I mean, in the same way we've looked at Goldberg Hall being part of the Goldberg Hogan thing here, I'd like to take a little look at Goldberg's arrival in WWE on Monday Night Raw, interrupting The Rock, and then ultimately the match that they had, Goldberg versus The Rock, at Backlash 2003.
Interesting. Really interesting. Yeah, I remember it being such a massive deal for Goldberg to be turning up to the WWF. It's interesting that we've both gone for that as well. I mean,
bookending his career, aren't we?
Yeah, pretty much within a year of each other, and both wanted to focus on his first run in the WWF. Yeah, and we think very much alike a lot of the time.
It's funny because actually on my notes here, which I won't put to the camera because nobody will be able to read it anyway, it's just a collection of scribbles that I make. I've started just in a little bit of space scribbling other things down, because when you started talking about Goldberg in WWE, my mind thought you were going to pick the same match that I've already got.
So you thought, I need to get a second one.
Yeah, so I frantically started jotting down other options, thinking, okay, what was the date of that? And I couldn't remember, so I can't use that one. So what can I, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm okay. So those are two really, to me, really interesting possibilities. As a WCW fan and so on, as a WCW fan, Goldberg coming to WWE was a huge deal for me. But then as a Lesnar fan and a Goldberg fan, them both leaving WWE was also a big deal to me. And it kind of, like we said, it bookends Goldberg's initial run. So I think this is a really, really interesting poll, and we'll be very curious to see which way we go. So those are your options on the poll this week, which will be at @chain_wrestling on Twitter. Hopefully earlier in the week than this week, because I'm not going to lie, I completely forgot. So I apologize. But we're going to be looking at one or both of, depending on how the poll goes. Dan Griffin does enjoy a tie. I know that much. We have Goldberg's last match in his initial run versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 20, or Goldberg's first match in his initial WWE run against The Rock at Backlash 2003. Those are your options in the poll. Vote, retweet, and all that good stuff at @chain_wrestling when the poll comes up later in the week after the audio version has dropped on Thursday this week, I believe. So there we go. Magsy, we've got a few minutes left, mate. Should we have a sort of a last-minute dive through the chat and just have a quick catch-up with everybody before we depart?
Yes, let's, sir. Scrolling back through. Oh, Graham from Good Cop Bad Cop is in. Says, happy 4th, y'all. I hope you appreciate me wearing my America hat, Graham. I know you're a big fan of it. Scottish Danny says, am I the only one who prefers Goldberg's 2003-2004 theme over his WCW? Yes, you are, sir. Yes, just you. And he says it was far more heavy, and I'm far more heavy than I was in 2000 as well. Brilliant.
I could still see my toes in 2000.
Good Cop, Bad Cop. Graham again saying congrats on the half century too, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Hogan spent a lot of his time being a basic pro ball bitch. Yeah, it's interesting, especially seeing some of this NWO stuff, just how similar his promos were to the ones he did as a baby face. And I remember watching, I think it was a Kevin Nash interview where he said he absolutely hated the fact that Hogan became the third member because it became the Hulk Hogan show. And he was doing these old meandering promos, and he said he went to Eric and said, "Look, this isn't going to work." And that between the two, they come up with those kind of like this following announcement has been paid for by the NWO. The kind of like cut up vignettes. He says what they actually were Hogan ranting and raving on these long promos, and it being edited down to look fresh and new. So when you see Hogan in the ring and he's still doing those same kind of promos, he didn't change his character. He just was a bad guy instead of a face. Yeah, it was really interesting to look back at.
He always
Cam Griffin
anyway, though, didn't he?
Well, yeah, he was a cheating bastard. Look at what he did to poor Sid at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, babyface Hogan was always still raking the eyes and scratching the back and hitting people with chairs and. Poor sensational Sherry, he's smacking women around left, right, and centre, wasn't he? Back in the 80s.
Jesus Christ.
You bastard, Hogan, you bastard.
Yeah, so Cam Griffin in the chat just in time for the wrestling RC. Morty said he nearly shat himself as I lifted a unit ready to move it tomorrow, and this bang starts, pissing fireworks. Vincent always deserved getting mugged off. Yeah, it's so funny to see because it happens like almost off camera, where everybody's like congratulating Hall on coming back and everyone's like really missing him and they're talking about having a party, and Vincent goes in for the half hour and Hall just looks at him and turns away, and he just looks a twat. He looks an absolute twat. So Scottish Danny saying, is Vincent the worst member of the NWO? That's actually interesting. So Dan said, I see Vincent and raise you Horace Hogan. And is he worse than the the Harris twins? Oh, Jesus wept. Jesus. Dan says they're all awful, but we're overlooking the obvious one. Jeff Jarrett is the worst member of the NWO. Is he though?
I don't think NWO 2000 really counts, to be fair. Because to me, it was so bad. It's just not even worth looking at.
It's got to be Vincent, though, hasn't it? I mean, he was probably the longest in there. But he was just. It was a play on a joke that ran its course on the same episode that they introduced him, and he just stuck around forever. Oh dear! It was just a terrible joke, and they just milked it for all of its worth. Scotty started saying, I'll never forget when Steve-O thought Horace's name was Horse on UTT. That was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So now Danny's flipped the table, said which is the best member of the NWO. It's Kevin Nash, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. Okay. See, I probably would have gone for importance. I think Hogan, because that turn made it. But I think I gotta go Scott Hall. A lot of it was his creative. Him debuting was such a big deal, and I think all the big moments in NWO history, I suppose, even though it was only a few years in the wrestling business in general, they all involved Scott Hall. Hall's debut obviously involved Scott Hall. Nash's debut involved Scott Hall. Power bombing Eric Bischoff, Scott Hall was there. Hogan's debut, Scott Hall was there. I think Scott Hall was so important, and he's just so cool. It's to me it's Scott Hall, but I can appreciate there's so much you can put forward certain members, and there's always I don't think there's any real right or wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I get your point. I wasn't looking at it as in terms of importance. I think out of the original three, if you look at importance, Kevin Nash comes third, because you're looking at Scott Hall started the ball rolling, and then Hogan made it the global phenomenon that it was. And Kevin Nash, he always felt like he was just someone who was along for the ride, cooler than the other side of the pillar, never really gave two shits, was clearly only there for the money. And I think that's why I've always liked Kevin Nash, because he doesn't hold anything back. He tells it as he sees it, and he's probably one of the coolest people to ever be in wrestling. Just a natural coolness.
He's just a dude, isn't he? He's just a dude.
Yeah.
I want to give a mention as well for somebody who potentially gets overlooked a little bit. Eric Bischoff. Now, I'm not putting him on the same level as a Hall or a Nash or anything like that. But Bischoff playing that slimy, nasty, horrid heel character, but then just everything about him was so slimy and gross and nasty. But he did it so well. You know, the whole challenging Vince McMahon to a fight and declaring himself a winner when Vince didn't turn up, and all the promos he would cut singing Hogan's praises and all this sort of stuff. I think Bischoff joining the NWO was a big important step as well. And Bischoff's so good on the mic, I think that helped with Hogan's ramblings.
Yeah. I mean, it was a massive, massive element to it, especially being that kind of authority figure who, I suppose, allowed the NWO to run roughshod over the company. If it wasn't, he could have been the one person that stopped it. But behind the scenes, he was actually controlling the strings, I suppose.
And we will get to all of that on Nitro Nights with Scottish Danny and I in several weeks' time.
So I'll quickly power through some of these other comments. Benny, hello, sir. How are you? He's saying this place will erupt when he picks him up. Yeah, the commentary, and we haven't really spoke about the commentary, but the Bobby the Brain in one of those rare instances where he's actually supporting the face. He's really in Goldberg's corner, and Tony Schiavone, and I think it's Mark Tenay, the third man, really underrated. Really kind of helped add gravitas to these matches. So yeah, I've got to give props to those guys. Yeah,
great show, Mag. Spot on.
Dan Griffin's saying Goldberg is insufferable by 1998, and then he says, I'm rolling in with a stinker. Well, yeah, the whole point of chain wrestling is not to watch the best wrestling ever all the time, as today's match shows. It's to...
Maxie, I'll tell you what, sorry to interrupt. My wife said exactly the same thing today. We were talking, I said about episode... We watched too much good wrestling.
Exactly. We need to watch some trap. So that's why he should vote. That's why he should vote for Goldberg versus Brock. And then after he hears your pick, he says, if there is ever a week for a tar, then yeah. I mean, it's 25 minutes of wrestling. It's not going to be that long. Goldberg for Hall of Fame, because Cam wanted a Goldberg match. Maybe next week's link, maybe Goldberg. And then who would induct Goldberg into the Hall of Fame? Goldberg, obviously.
Brilliant.
Quite clearly. And apparently, according to Sharon, Nash was a shark stripper. And I think that's the perfect way to wrap this up.
He was in Magic Mike, wasn't he?
Was it? I don't know.
Yeah, he was in the film Magic Mike with all the strippers and all that. But this is when his knees were shot. So most of his scenes were filmed of him sitting down. So I've been told. I've not seen the film. I Magsy, let's get out of here, my friend. Do you want to let everyone know whereabouts they can find you on Twitter and so on, even though you're still kind of a bit of a recluse and relaxing away in your own world, and rightfully so?
Well, I mean, the fact is they can't find me. And I apologise. And I know I have seen the notification. I think Fitch, Ryan have sent messages. I'm just really, really enjoying not being plugged into the social media sphere. For someone who's been on social media for such a long time, it's refreshing to have a break, and I'm enjoying being away. But I may eventually come back, and if I do, you can follow me down here at Podfather Mags, or you can follow me on TikTok at Mags All Pods. But yeah, that's pretty much where you'll find me. Other than that, I'll be back here on next Monday with another episode of Chain Wrestling.
Indeed. It's quite simple for me this week, mate. Really straightforward. You can find me at SJP Words on Facebook. There's a group, on Twitter. There is a group on Facebook, SJP, all the shows and info. And then also go and seek out and follow at SJP World Media, the network that I'm going to be starting very soon. As I mentioned earlier in the show, the support everyone's given me is fantastic. My wife, you, Magsy, Tanner, everyone at Tekkers. But most importantly, I really want to thank the people who are doing the shows with me. So Scottish Danny, Dan Griffin, Benny Mac, everyone who's involved in stuff that I do. Because if I didn't have brilliant people hosting with me, you know, like this, for example, this wouldn't be happening if you weren't my co-host, Magsy. If it weren't you and me together, I wouldn't want to do that. When you were away, we did it for a few weeks. If it was going to continue that way, I'd knocked it on the head. So the fact that it's me and you that's what I mean. That's what makes these shows. I'm really lucky to come up with a couple of good ideas and then have brilliant people just being brilliant alongside me and effectively carrying me through certain aspects of certain shows. And I really appreciate all of you. It's fantastic. So yeah, that's great. So go and follow SJP World Media on Twitter. Later in the week, the merch will be out. The shows will start being released. Please chuck them a listen, chuck them a retweet. I appreciate any support anyone can throw my way. So thank you so much for that. But yeah, there we go, Mags. Another week in the books, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And another step towards episode 100.
Getting closer.
It's exciting. It's exciting. You're frozen now, or am I frozen? This bloody internet is doing my nut. Are you back? Am I back? Are we both back?
Don't get Virgin Media. We're both back. Don't get Virgin Media internet, especially if you live in Gloucester.
Well, no, yeah. When they fix it, they make it worse. Dickheads. Magsy, considering it's July 4th, I'm off now to go and watch Lex Luger win via count-out at SummerSlam 93 and chant USA, USA as the balloons come down, even though he's not the bloody champion. I'll speak to you next week, my friend.
Rule 10.